com. No, still going on. Hello everyone. Thank you for joining me here. I'm still getting used to this process. It's more so this experience itself, and you know, you don't create new experiences in great comfort. You don't do it because you don't know. So it's a new thing. So I need to experience it. I need to exercise it to get better at it. I already have realized that my settings aren't all the best, and I'm somewhat out of spec here and there, and at present I figure I'm just going to do this. I'm going to trust the process. I'm going to trust that what happens is going to be in accordance to my intention of it. The reason I'm doing this today, in fact, this morning I came across this tweet, and I'll tell you from the start. I created a title of this: Money, Value, and Co-op Crowd. Okay, so that's kind of where we're going with this, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that. But what triggered it was this. It was a tweet that came out this morning, and this was done on CNBC. So there maybe some level of efficacy to the to it, given the source. But it's talking about what's happening in this case in Lebanon. The writer Niraj Agrawal, I think I'll pronounce it that way. Some people in Lebanon are using cryptocurrency to weather the financial crisis and loss of faith in the banking system. Boy, to have had and still have faith in quote-unquote the banking system, given what it has done, I'm saying globally, over the last even, well, I want to say 100 years for me, but you know, even if we talk about the last decade or so, typically worldwide, you know, people are very, very reluctant to change their habits until circumstances, things that should have been done a long time ago and addressed a long time ago, have not been. They get to a point where they become intolerable. You know, even the intolerable stuff is no longer tolerable. So the article from CNBC basically says others have lost faith in the monetary system altogether. Enter cryptocurrency. And I'll just read this and comment on it. It says CNBC spoke with multiple locals, many of whom considers cryptocurrencies a lifeline for survival. Some are mining for digital tokens as their sole source of income while they hunt for a job. Others, and I comment on that too, others arrange clandestine meetings via Telegram to swap the stablecoin Tether for US dollars in order to buy groceries. Although the form that crypto adoption takes varies depending upon the person and the circumstances, nearly all of these locals craved a connection to money that actually makes sense. Now, that's basically saying that their present connection to money, first of all, is tenuous at best, particularly given the inflation rates and the decline in its value. And here we say, Bitcoin has really given us hope. Gabrielle said, "I was born in my village. I've lived here all my life, and Bitcoin has helped me to stay here." So that was the point. It kind of triggered me to start this stream and to talk a bit more, one, about value, talk about Co-op Crowd and what Co-op Crowd is. I've only learned about Co-op Crowd maybe a few months ago, and it has, as a platform, to help me, or inspired, stimulated an inclination to see money differently. And Bitcoin started that about 5 years ago. Bitcoin caused me, or gave me reason to see money in a different way, because we really did not have a adequate, I want to say, substitute, and a realistic and practical one that we could so you could take a, as best as possible, apples to apples comparison with Bitcoin, with cryptocurrencies, because 5 years down, many things have happened. Okay, and a lot of adoption has occurred, but generally speaking, adoption hasn't occurred yet. I'm talking about the vast majority of the population still has not. I mean, unless you're in a place like Lebanon, unless you're in a place like Ecuador, is it Ecuador? It's El Salvador, that's what it is. Unless you're a place like that, or Venezuela, or Brazil, or some other places where the pressures have been even more restrictive, where sanctions are happening. And these, we tend to think of hearing about sanctions against countries, but they're never against countries. Countries don't exist except for the people that live there. And the people who are actually being targeted and affected by this, they're not the creators of policy. These are like wars that are happening with this little tiny group against this little tiny group. These are influencers trying to influence others, but the masses are being affected by this negatively. So that is happening all over the world, including right where you are right now. I don't even have to know where you are, and yet still know it's happening in your place too. So the point about that is Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies helped me or encouraged me to start seeing things differently, because we had a practical alternative to the sources and resources that we call money now. And that has been happening, it's been growing, and the adoption has been increasing. And there's all kind of political things going on even within that particular stream. Well, Co-op Crowd, years now, 5 years later since I first learned about Bitcoin, and I've been doing, and I have done many things that I could attempt to do to start acquiring some. However, Co-op Crowd has helped me see something else. First of all, our decision, our interest is in getting something in order so we have a store of value and a way to interact with and exchange with other people. One part of Bitcoin's practicality was that it protected the value exchange between people. It was exchangeable. You're not going to walk around, for example, from a practical standpoint, you're not going to walk around with gold or silver. You're not going to, you can't do anything. You're talking about your precious metals, and how are you going to slice them up? And for that matter, you're going to go around with armed guard and stuff like that. That's really not practical. It is not the type of way where I have my value but you don't have yours. Okay? The best way is that everyone not only knows that they are the value. We are tending to think that the thing is that which is of value. And some of the people that have been trashing Bitcoin over the years, for that matter, and cryptocurrencies, well, there's nothing there. It's not real. Excuse me. Your intention is to issue. Your value is what is real, but you can't touch, feel, or anything. And in that respect, and yet unless you have a sense of value within yourself, you don't have any value right there. And in addition to that, we are a point in our thinking, and we have been so often, is that we have been inclined to give of that, not realizing that is, you could say you can exchange that that grace that we offer to someone else, that sense of value that we think of something else, and we put it in, it becomes objectified, and then people focus on the thing and ignore the ones who thought the thing had some worth. Okay, because that is really what it is. You are the one that determines what is worthy. You are the one that determines what is not. Unless until you start hearing from someone else who convinces you that you are not worthy, but either they are or the thing that they have is going to be your savior, so to speak. And so we are going through those types of things, and what Co-op Crowd helped me to actually see as it has come along, and I'll tell you a little bit about Co-op Crowd, but I'm not going to belabor this. I have 2 videos right now that I am finishing up. Each is over an hour long. I have 13 or 15 other videos, excuse me, that I have produced already, and I'm going to show you where they are and invite you to partake. Let's see, so as I go over here and change my screen here, and I'll give you even a better look there. This is a playlist. It's called Cooperate Your Way to Wealth, and this is Co-op Crowd, and I have an entire list of videos that I've already done, and a few of them have had some views, and you can see I'm here's an hour and a half, an hour. There is a reason for this. If we have spent years and years and years thinking the way we think, and coming to a point of having whatever type of relationship that we have with this thing called money, it's very likely that most people, many people, no, I'm going to say most people, actually have far less coming in than they need. Okay? Some people are so far in deficit of the flow of funds that they have coming into them that they're having trouble keeping food, or getting food, acquiring food in a respectful way. Let us say they have problems with shelter and acquiring shelter in a respectful way. They have problems getting around. They have problems being healthy, or because most of the stuff that we can consume, which is purported to be food, really it's just bulk. It's just stuff. There may be some nourishing value in it, but typically it isn't. Oftentimes the things that we're consuming that's called food are basically medications in a food container. It looks like food, but it's mostly just medication is what it is. It changes your consciousness. It alters you. It changes your it affects your behavior. When you are resolute in the things that you do and what you stand for, what you believe in, and I mean this in the standpoint that what you believe in, first of all, begins with yourself, for one thing. Some people say God. I don't see a difference, first of all. So if you believe in yourself, you are connected to this thing called God, whatever it is. It's a great, great power, but it rests and exists within you. Every one of you. Even if you don't like what someone else is doing, it's there too. That thing called free will is not a joke. People have the freedom, the right, the ability, the power, if you will, to actually do whatever, to create whatever. And what goes around comes around. Law is always in effect. And so one thing is really interesting is that 2 negatives in some cases, in some types of arithmetic, make a positive, but 2 negatives in thinking does not create positive results. It just raises the negativity for the ones who are involved, for the ones who embrace the idea. It just raises it to another level for them. So we are sitting around thinking that we have no power, we have no value. And why? Because our education systems and many of our belief systems have basically suggested just that. You don't have any power. Someone else has got to save you. Someone else is going to come in and kick ass and take names, so to speak. Something is going to hurt you. Something other than yourself is going to actually be your savior, whatever it is. Oh, it's just only going to cost you this much. And if you don't have enough to pay for, maybe we can help with your loan so you can get in the habit of doing this, okay, and be further in debt, so to speak. All of this is possible when you don't have a sufficient inflow of value that happens as a result of the I'm going to say good that you have put out, the things that you have put out for your from your heart, so to speak. And so we are at deficit to the extent that what I just described applies to us. First of all, that is when the deficit, and the deficits continue and continue. These are far more important than the value of Bitcoin or any crypto or even of the dollar itself. They're more important than inflation rates and anything else. Your sense of value of yourself and who you are and what you are, and your awareness of the amazing being and the amazing ability that is within you already to change your situation. Our lack of that knowledge is the first thing and the only thing that we can address. Okay, we can help each other, but we have to do that and be present in full for ourselves and access that great power from within ourselves. Pull it out, so to speak. It's there, but we need to uncover it, okay? And we uncover it by uncovering various beliefs that do not serve us, the fears that those beliefs are based on. You start dissipating the fear. What is fear? It's just like darkness, so to speak. When you turn on a flashlight or even a candle in a darkened room, you know, you start seeing things that were already there and already present. You just didn't notice. You start seeing ways to change the quality of your experience. So I saw that with Co-op Crowd. I see it with Co-op Crowd. What is it? In a nutshell, it is a method by which, it's a platform. It's called crowdfunding, but it is not like any crowdfunding platform where you have a particular situation and you need to go, you want to go and ask for some help from people, so to speak. And again, you may get that help from people, but at the same time, if you're still in a mindset of not having, if you're still in a consciousness of not being enough yourself to solve your issues and solve your problems, and also in a consciousness perhaps of not being willing to help others when they call for help, when they ask for it. The first and foremost, you need to fill your own cup, so to speak. Your cup needs to be full, even to overflowing, of the inflow of all the good that you've done. On the other hand, you need to empty your cup of all the negative that you have been inclined to put out, thinking that it's not of any particular power or influence, because it is a big block to the good that you would like to receive. A lot of people aren't receiving and experiencing qualities of interactions that they love, that they welcome. And so oftentimes they get bitter because they think bitterness is an appropriate response for it. And bitterness only breeds more bitterness. That's just the way things are. So Co-op Crowd is a platform. It involves the crypto space, and what you do is you take an amount of funds, you take $100 or $400, and you put it into this platform. But in this case, you're not investing in to make money, okay? What you are doing is you are putting funds into this platform, and you're going to be, it's a gesture of your giving. Your giving, now 10 people will receive from your gift. The platform is set up in such a way that it cycles through. This pattern is repeated every 28 days. So when you start, you join, you will put in either $100 or you'll put in $400. And it's in crypto. So in the same way that the people in Lebanon were changing and switching out so that they could get US dollars, but they were using Tether, for example, or they were using Bitcoin. However they were doing that, you're going to do just the same type of situation. You're going to take some dollars and you're going to put it into Co-op Crowd, either $100 worth of USDT, USDC, or any of over 100 other cryptos. I don't know what you can do with Dogecoin, for example, but you could actually fund your account with Doge if you got it. And any other thing, Hex, all these other things. The point, basically, you put it in. The system cycles every 28 days. So the process is repeated every 28 days. However, when you join, you will receive 3 information packages. It's called tokens. And you are going to invite 3 people. You use one of those tokens for each one to invite them to do the exact same thing that you did. All right? When you do that, yeah, I can keep it with this. I'm thinking about, here I am doing all this, and we could do this full screen or not. When you do that, in fact, I could go to my co-op crowd while I'm negotiating this. Here we go, I think. So when you do that, the 3 people are going to do just what you did. And the cycle is repeated every 28 days. So 28 days from the day you invite those 3, each 3, this cycle will repeat again and again and again. Okay? Now, what happens is this. If you do this within, let's say, 7 days, if you invite your 3 people, say within 7 days time, and if then the 3 people that you invite, they're sending their 3 out because they're getting 3 tokens. They have put in $100 or $400 too. They're getting their 3 tokens, and they are putting those out to people that they know and care about, or they don't know but they care about. The issue in part is caring about someone beyond yourself. The other thing is that they are literally doing this for themselves. Okay, this is a way to help you and to help each member create a circle. I call it a beneficial return, a circuit of beneficial return. It connects you to a very real and specific pathway of funds back to you. And it does it organically because you are doing it organically. You are planting seeds with your $100 or $400. That's a seed, it's not money. It's just a way to create an experience. And what you want to come back to you is money, correct? So with this seed, you got the thought, you got the power, and you actually have a system that will create a circuit for you for the return of what you are putting into it. And not just putting in the sense of I'm putting $100 in so that I can get $100 back. You will put $100 in, and you will, with some joy, with some enthusiasm, with some courage, you will talk to other people who are in the same situation you're in, who have the same deficit in flow of income that you have. And so when that occurs, they are going to do the same thing. They are, by their intention, by their desire, and also by their action, and by their positive action. You will not get cooperation from people that you are criticizing, that you are thinking are somehow bad or somehow in a bit worse, the cause of your problem, so to speak. It's not going to happen. And the truth of the matter is, people have those positions as a function of their own habits, their habits that they become accustomed to. And in some regards, like I said, you cannot make and have a positive impact on anything with a negative attitude, with negative opinions about anything or anyone, including yourself. Because people who have you not heard, or who has not heard someone say, well, I'm my own worst critic? Well, you know something, and guess what? No one's filtering that attitude about that person. People talk about, they affirm their pains and their aches, they affirm their fears, and so why expect anything other than your fears to show up? And of course, there are also so many other people that know of the fears that folks have, and they sit around or they create campaigns to basically feed off those fears. I'll give you an example. You won't see it here, but anyone has seen the commercial for a particular auto insurance company, and what it is, they are basically got this character who is, they call himself so and so, and he is the distractor, he's the this and he's the that, the other, and it helps people to visualize the worst thing happening. We are being helped along to visualize the worst things that we can imagine to actually have some reality to them. And yet, that is the only way they will happen. It's because enough people have imagined them, and some people are experiencing them directly, some people are experiencing them indirectly, because the resonance with the ideas are, you could say, influencing their own personal experiences. I'll give you an example. When I was a kid, I had an occasion. Our school was right across the street from us. School at the time, I'm in Chicago, and we oftentimes would play in front of the school, you know, during when school wasn't in, okay? And one day, some friends of mine were across the street, and we were going to play, and I'm running out, and I'm in a hurry to get over across the street. I run out there, and right from between two cars, and just as I am getting out and onto the street and about to dart out, here's a car coming across. We're in, he's about to hit me, so to speak. And I saw all of that in time, and I had the presence of mind enough to put the brakes on right then and there. Okay, and so I stopped. The guy also stopped, and he took took evasive action and everything else. So I wasn't hit. Okay, but it scared the bejesus out of me, for one thing, enough for me to lose my bladder, so to speak, or to clear it. All right, because I knew and I understood right then and there what could have happened. So it didn't happen, but it made an impression on me, even to the point that in all these years since, when I'm in situations like that, I realized the possibility that that could happen, because I wouldn't want that on anyone. I didn't want it for myself. I wouldn't want it for anyone. But you know something? Instead of believing or thinking that it could happen, when the idea would show up in my mind, if you will, because they would come up, thoughts come up in your mind when you're triggered by certain events. You know what I would do? And not because I'm so great aware or anything else, but this is what I did. I was grateful that it didn't happen. I felt relief and thankfulness, so to speak, that didn't happen. And I do that even today, still today. For one thing, I'm not in the city anymore, but I'm in the country. There are deer and antelope. Well, they're elk, okay? I live where the deer and the antelope play, so to speak, but we live where the elk certainly play. They get around here. There are animals all over the place. And I have the same regard today as I did then. I'm grateful because, and some have stepped out in front of me before, in my path, and each time, first of all, I'm happy to say nothing has happened. I feel like I'm at one, so to speak, with the life around me. And so, there are ways for them to know, stay away or stay out, or ways for me to know not to harm as well. So I trust that process. And the point is living in that. So as it relates to a co-op crowd, as it relates to value, to worth, if you will, you are the value, you are the creator thereof, you are worth that which you create. You are certainly worth when you are inclined to give, and to give in a way that is of harmonious intention, when it is beneficial, when your desire is to improve the quality of your life or the quality of the life of others around you, irrespective of their political persuasions or their binariness or anything else. I still wish the best for any and everyone, whether I agree with them in their personal thinking or even their personal habits or not. I still wish them the best. I still wish them no harm. Can you really say that you wish no harm to anyone? Can you feel it? Can you believe it? Can you wish prosperity to everyone? I'll tell you, when people have their own stuff, when they have their own flow, a sufficient flow of funds coming into them, their consciousness will change. But I'll put it this way. When their consciousness change, when they change their consciousness, a sufficient and significant flow will come. All right? And I see Co-op Crowd as a facilitator of that. By putting a small amount in, you're doing it, and I say $100 to me is a small amount, to most people is a small amount or an achievable amount. $400 is not a small, but it is also achievable too, because I tell you, a lot of people, they pay a lot more than that in their coffee money. You can pay that for one trip to some of your big box stores, you know, and it's not that you need to put having food on the table off, but I'll tell you this, what you can get by the replication, the cooperation, and the connection, the positive connection with others, which is done within Co-op Crowd, will blow your mind. I won't even talk about the amounts. I will invite you, to go back to the page that I created with the playlist, because presentations are there. How to join is there. While I'm sitting here jabbing, you know, you just click on the link. You can use the link that I have, well, I'll put someplace, but you can put your information in, confirm your email address, put your phone number in, create a password. The donor key, that is the number that you would put in if you're using my invitation. If you see this and there's another Co-op Crowd member that invites you or suggests that you watch this, put theirs in. Ultimately, what happens is that I benefit, 9 people beyond me benefit who are already in, and you set the stage for you to be benefiting in the same way. And the amounts that you receive, and again, I'm going to suggest that you watch some of my other videos. I have a couple of videos that say VBRs, Virtual Business Reviews. Watch them, see what the amounts are. See if you can fathom receiving those types of funds every 28 days, even if you stop talking to people. See, I don't see how you would stop once you see what can be done, but however, you can't do this for others. You only do this for yourself. They have to do this for themselves. And that is kind of the point. There are no other products associated with it. You know, people talk about the multi-levels and stuff like that, and they've got all these products that have some either marginal, some of them are good, some of them really aren't, and they're overpriced because they have all these levels of fat in there so that people can make a living on all these different levels. And then you got a constant push for more people. You have the constant push to motivate and stuff like that. And the truth is, it's no fun. And I know a lot of people, and you start burning out. With Co-op Crowd is another story. None of that stuff is happening. You're not managing any of this stuff. You don't have a product in that sense at all. You are putting some value into a system that will create circuits of like value. And I say like kind because it's not like amounts. The amounts are way much more, and they keep coming in. It's a circle. You put, but you only, when you have your 3 and your 3 have 3, you will already be receiving enough back in that you don't even have to put any money out again. Now again, I was contrary because I invited 3 people and they did not have the type of, I say, OneDrive I had perhaps, or motivation, or they had other things that were standing in the way of doing things, especially when your people that you care about either say no, or I'm saying people that you know either say no, or when they get around to it, so to speak, and they are working like gerbils trying to get what a little time spent informing, explaining, and staying with your friends, your people, etc., and helping them get started. Then you can get on to your other things, but funds will start coming in and growing on their own. When a farmer plants his or her crops, he takes some seeds, he puts it in the ground, he nourishes it, he nurtures it, he gives it some love, he gives it some fertilizers, etc. He gives it some water, and then it goes on and does whatever. In the meantime, the forces start to replicate and they start to grow. In time, something comes out, and what comes out can replicate itself. You can take a seed off of that plant and put it in, and it replicates itself. This is a different animal than anything I have ever seen, and it has spawned me to see how many, many more things are possible, things that we want to see happen, things that we haven't known how it could happen, simply because the way money is typically thought of, the way it is managed, and most importantly, without even thinking about it, we've created a circuit of negativity to come back to each of ourselves. When you put negativity out, it comes back to you. You can deny it, you can ignore it until you can't, and you can blame others for it. You can do that too. But negativity is negativity, and if you put it out, it comes back to you. What we don't do in the absence, because there's only so much time, is we don't put positivity out, harmoniousness out. We don't have a vision of something that we want to live for. We have images of stuff we're afraid to die of. That's no quality of life either. You need to know what you live for, what you want to live for, and you give your life, your energy, your positive energy to, and you plant seeds to allow that to happen. And those seeds, you don't nurture it with negativity. If you sit there and complain about it and bitch at it, it ain't going to happen either. So if you're willing to change those habits and change your thinking and embrace the idea of the life that you actually want to live, and that includes if you're having some sickness and all that is, whatever that may be, because given our unconscious activities and habits and the fact and how easily we have been divisible and divided, that's part of our experience too. But instead of believing someone else is going to come and fix it, something else is going to come and fix it, or it's going to be better way over yonder, and we just bide our time continuing to just try to cope. Excuse me, there's no escape from the consciousness that you've created, and the only one that can change your consciousness is you. The only consciousness I can change is my own, okay? And I do that by consulting someone or something that is inside me, okay? Inside you too, but you can think that thing outside is more powerful. It ain't, but you're free to think it. So that's my thinking, that's my feeling, that's my reason for doing this today. Yes, I invite you to join Co-op Crowd, and I would support you in learning how to move around this new space, because Co-op Crowd has one additional thing. In addition to creating this flow of giving, essentially you're giving, I said you're giving to 10 people. But by doing so, receiving those 3 tokens and giving them to 3 people who do the same thing that you do, the behavior will continue because they will give to 3. So the 3 that are around you, because you will also receive immediately. And the one thing that I didn't mention about I said 100 or 400. If you deposit the $400 in value into Co-op Crowd, then you will get everything that everyone gets when they put in 100, because it begins a flow of income back to you. For example, the first 3 people that you invite for this $100, you will receive $8.75. So for those 3, you're going to get $26.50 or something like that. $26.50, I think, is the number. If you also add, not adding additional 400, it's one or the other. If you put in $400, then you would receive the $8.75 for each one. Okay, but for each individual, you would also receive an additional $87.50. So essentially, that additional funds that you put in gets you a 10-time multiplier. And understand that the entire system, the funds are not in Co-op Crowd until you bring them in. And then as people continue to do and replicate that activity, they are bringing the funds in. It is totally liquid. And so if you invite your 3 in the beginning, and those people see what you see, they see what we see, so to speak, assuming you decided you're joining this, and you're joining with the commitment that you're going to do the same thing, you also ensure that the people that you invite, you make it very clear to them. Don't do this unless you're confident enough in yourself and that you are committed enough that you'll simply continue talking to people until you have at least 3. You're free to have more than that. But watch some of the other videos and see what the numbers are for simply inviting 3 people who do the same thing. There is a maximum of the donors that will then, through Co-op Crowd, be set up to send directly to you. And that is called a 3x10 matrix. It's 88,572 people. So essentially, and that's a nice trade-off. You give to 10, 88,572 as a maximum will give to you. And in truth, that's not even a maximum either, because when you invite more than 3 and you help them get their 3 and get themselves going, you can have even more. So that is the point. There is nothing like this at all. And this is how you get beyond caring about inflation rates, caring about or having to continue to say, I don't have enough, I don't have enough, because the flow keeps coming every 28 days. So the system is set up to organically create. It may take a few months, it may take a year, but you know something, if 80,572, at some point in time, let's say you only have 10,000 people coming in the system because it's happening at the pace that it happens. Yeah, I know for me, my life has changed, you know, in terms of financial. But ultimately, in terms of consciousness, there's no difference. I have everything that I need now. I don't need Co-op Crowd. But I know because so many people's value, their sense of self is associated with that flow, and so many have not created that flow of beneficial return, that circuit of beneficial return. They've got the circuit of negative return. Create the circuit of beneficial return by putting something out that's beneficial. Putting $100 or $400 into co-op crowd in this particular case and sending some care, some love, some patience to people that you care about, and that can be to anyone, particularly if they're receptive and they're not sending you negativity, so to speak. But even that is there for us to transmute, not to sit there and deflect. Transmute it, change it, and turn it into something that is, you know, we talk about turning lemons into lemonade, and we disparage lemons like that, okay? But you know what I mean. So that is my thought, my thinking. That is my reason for doing this. I thank you for watching. At some point in time, I'm going to check my settings on this, and I'm certainly open to doing this on an interactive basis. I'm still definitely learning this process as far as doing live streams and stuff. But this morning, this is what I felt like doing, and so it is done. So until next time, thanks again. I'll say peace, be well, be wealthy, be prosperous, and I love you all.